Vâng, xin chào mừng tất cả các bạn đã đến với số Tech Talk đầu tiên của năm 2022. Năm 2022 chúng tôi đã quay lại với những cái chủ đề tôi nghĩ là nó sẽ là rất là thú vị đối với các bạn. Và chương trình Tech Talk là một cái series về công nghệ được phối hợp tổ chức bởi ban công nghệ của tập đoàn FPT cùng với trường đào tạo cán bộ của FPT. Và xin thay mặt cho toàn bộ ekip tổ chức chương trình này, tôi xin chúc tất cả các bạn một năm mới an khang thịnh vượng, vạn sự như ý. Và cái số đầu tiên của năm 2022 này sẽ là một số, tôi nghĩ là một topic nó sẽ đem lại cho các bạn một sự hứng khởi và nó rất nhiều những cái thông tin thú vị. Đó là topic về Metaverse, một trong những cái cụm từ được nhắc rất nhiều trong thời gian gần đây. Và ngày hôm nay tôi xin phép được giới thiệu với các bạn hai vị khách mời. Tôi nghĩ là sẽ đem lại cho các bạn những góc nhìn về business cũng như những góc nhìn về technical. Xin mời hai vị khách chúng ta lên sóng ạ.
Hello.
All right. You guys, you guys can see me, right? This is Corey, Mr. Hưng. You guys can see me?
We see ya. Yep.
We can see you all. Yep.
Great. So, could you guys please, just introduce shortly about yourself? So we go first with Mr. Hưng.
Yep. Hello. So my name is Hưng, as you can see on the screen. I recently joined FPT and heading the research part of FPT Blockchain Lab. As you can see, over the course of like 2-3 years, blockchain is coming onto the topmost search for words in the world, right? It's a very buzzword. But behind that buzzword, we have the fundamental technology. It may be a foundational technology. It might be an enabling technology. And with what FPT is and what FPT will be, we are a leader, right? A leader in a technology part of the country, and going on to be a leader in the technology part of the region. So what a leader cannot do is to fall behind. That's why FPT just recently launched a blockchain lab. We do research, we do development, and we're recruiting. So half a second on advertising for ourselves. And that's about me. Thanks.
Great. We go with all right. Hey Corey, could you give us shortly about yourself, right?
Yeah, I'm Corey Smith. I'm with the Digital Transformation Group, or Digital Garage. I work for Frank Bignon, and I'm based in the U.S. and I work with in the U.S. with FPT USA, leading their digital transformation and innovation consultancy, and working with the solutions group there. And I represent DXG in the U.S. And one of the many things that I talk about is, of course, Web3 and the Metaverse. And as my esteemed colleague spoke of before, I agree. One of the most foundational things that we could be talking about today, and one of the things we're going to talk about a lot tonight, is blockchain. It is a foundational technology, and it is the foundation of the Metaverse. It provides continuity of identity, objects, and ownership in the Metaverse. And we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. And we're going to be talking a lot about that across many of our businesses and our customers over the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be a very important thing that we talk about.
Great. So our topic today is about Metaverse. And we will go deep dive into Metaverse. And of course, we will go to, how we can apply Metaverse in real world. Of course, we can talk about a little bit about Web3 and affiliation between the Metaverse and Web3 later, right? So, very beginning question, very first question for all of you: what is your viewpoint of Metaverse? How do you see Metaverse? How do you imagine Metaverse? Right, Mr. Hưng, I want to hear from you first.
Okay, so first of all, let me start with the human being, right? So human being, what differentiates human being from any other animal in the planet? Because, so I think there are many different differences, but among them is social connections, like meaningful social connections, right? And so that brings me to Metaverse. So Metaverse today is like the next frontier for social connections. So like 20 years ago, social connection mean two people meeting one another face to face and start talking, right? or writing a letter and send from one place to another, it takes like 5 days to arrive. That's social connection back in 20 years ago. But social connection as of today is like picking up a phone to do a video call. But what you see is just a two-dimensional image or two-dimensional video. So metaverse, we can see it as a next frontier. Maybe it's a 3D representation of people you're talking to. Maybe it's a hologram, all sorts of technology, all sorts of VR, AR, and many more. But by and large, I see it as a next level that enable people to have even more meaningful, even more immersive, and even more.
That's right.
I mean, awesome kind of social connection that bring up that enhance our life, because like our life is mostly based on the social connection that we have.
Yeah. So if I understand well, your viewpoint metaverse is like the, let's say, the more immersive way, or I mean next level of how to connect people in the social network, right? So yeah, we can
Yep,
sum up like that. Yeah.
yep.
What about you? What about you, Corey? How do you see metaverse?
Sure. Well, I see the metaverse as just the next natural evolution of our connection to the internet, right? So, back when the internet kind of started in the late 90s, we had the information economy. So the way we interacted with the web was basically consuming information through a web browser or through AOL or through CompuServe, through a interface that was provided to us through a service provider, and then it matured into a web browser, and it was basically a one-way street. Information was being fed to us or provided to us through the internet. And then from the early to mid 90s to about 2005, that was the information economy. Then from about 2005 to 2020, that became the platform economy. So you saw the emergence of things like Facebook and Twitter and Spotify and Google and things of that nature, where these big platforms kind of took over control of the data, not only the data and the information that we consumed, but your personal data. So your data that they collected about you and they used about you to serve you advertising. And that was the rise of the monetization of the internet, right? And that's where we kind of landed up until about 2020. And what you see in Web3, which is kind of contains or is part of, or perhaps can be considered the metaverse, is what we call the creator economy, where the platforms no longer own your data or the space of the information. You will own it. And that's where blockchain becomes a very important part of that, where you will now own your data. You will now own your property in the metaverse, in this 3D world. You will own your property. You will own your content, and things like NFTs and the blockchain will provide you for a way to have ownership over that. But that's kind of a meta way to talk about it. Really, what the metaverse is, or how we will kind of move to the metaverse, in my mind, is that the way we interact and socially connect, as Hung said, through that is through a web browser, through a mobile phone today. And we will not, the way we interact with the metaverse, or the way we will begin to interact with the metaverse, will begin with web browsers and mobile phones. And it'll begin with like AR, augmented reality, through a browser, through a phone. It'll be a slow migration to that. And ultimately it will become like a VR. Like you see things that are now already in the metaverse through gaming consoles, through Roblox, applications like Roblox. But we will slowly, and by slowly, that's relative. Things in the internet move quickly. Slowly, I mean like maybe over the next 3 years, you'll see early adopters moving to it. Within the next 5 to 8 years, we will begin to more rapidly move towards it, where businesses will move to the metaverse, and businesses will be. And I can tell you, prior to coming to FPT, I worked for Aflac. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Aflac. They're a big insurance company here, based in the U.S. They're also based in Japan. I did work for them in exploring how Aflac should be moving towards the metaverse and how we would be doing business in the metaverse. And specifically, we were looking at, we sell insurance. Insurance are sold in policies. How we would move away from policies to developing smart contracts on the blockchain. So they would no longer have policies, so that we could do transactions in the metaverse with smart contracts, with NFTs essentially, and how we should begin to prepare our business to be doing transactions and doing business in the metaverse. So businesses are already starting to think this way. But that's I'm sorry, I'm kind of rabbit holing on that. But that's my perception, or my way of thinking about the metaverse.
Yeah. To be honest, you wrap up a lot of information in your, let's say in your mind, in your perception about the metaverse. You mentioned, blockchain, NFT, a lot of terms, a lot of definition about decentralization, about ownership of the digital contents. And of course, we can go one by one. We will go deep by one. I mean, we will explain to everyone here one by one. What is NFT and what is blockchain? Right? Later, of course, definitely can go one by one. But I really want from very beginning. I really want to we go. Let's say we emphasize and we need to be clear of what metaverse is and what are the characteristics of metaverse, because a lot of definition out there on the
Right.
internet. Yeah, and everyone has their own definition of characteristic of metaverse, and we don't know what is right, and a lot of buzzword coming up.
Right. There's a
So
lot of buzzwords, and there's a lot of
yeah,
mischaracterizations of the metaverse. One of the things
yeah,
that we've shared on Workplace is this Walmart. You've seen it. Everybody's seen it. This video that Walmart has put out of their vision casting of like what the Walmart experience will be in the metaverse, and it's complete garbage. And it's just like a VR experience of you going shopping in a Walmart. Like you're going to go and put on VR goggles and pick stuff off of a shelf. They've completely lost the context of what it means to actually exist and interact in the metaverse. They can only think about, and this is where I think the biggest disconnect for
yeah,
business is
yeah,
with the
yeah.
metaverse. Is they can
I
only think in the
understand. I
context,
understand.
right? Is like they can only think in
Yeah.
the context of how they do business today. The metaverse is going to fundamentally change the way our culture works, the way we do, just the way the internet did in the late 90s and in the 2000s, the way we do commerce, like e-commerce, the way we buy things, the way we, like just the way we can buy a car online and have it delivered to your house. You can have groceries, Amazon, all of that. None of that existed 20 years ago. And now it's commonplace. You don't even think about it. It's going to be the same thing with the metaverse. People are not going to go online and just like go pick things off of a shelf at Walmart with VR goggles on. That's stupid, right? Nobody, that's not the experience that people are going to expect from the metaverse. Businesses need to think about what the opportunity and the possibilities do the metaverse bring, and how can they change their business model to meet the expectations of their customers and the way that they're going to exist and live their lives in the metaverse, because it's going to be different than the way that we live our lives in practical reality. Do you know what I mean?
All right.
That's
Yeah,
number one.
yeah. I got. So, from my side, I absolutely agree with you. Like AR, VR is just user experience to get immersive
Right.
into metaverse, but it is not metaverse, right? But I really want to hear from Mr. Hung, like how do you
Yeah.
define the characteristic of a metaverse?
That is tough, right? Because like there is no textbook definitions of metaverse whatsoever. There is, let's say we talk about technology evolution. We have 4G, we have 5G, and before that we had 3G. I'm talking about telecommunication. So we have a specific characteristic, like what is the speed for downloading, what is the speed for uploading, what is the latency. So everything is built into the specifications. But metaverse is just a word basically coined from a science fiction novel, right? And now with the development of technology, things that seem to be magical become realistic, and then people pick up the word and put it here. So I'm just like to using my English capacity to break down the words, right? Metaverse is like meta and verse. So if you do programming, then you will see metadata. So you have data and then you have metadata. Metadata is what control is like a little bit more on top of the data. So now getting back to the reality that we are living in. So now we have the real life. I'm holding a mouse on my hand. This mouse is real. But I'm watching you, Mr. Tuan and Mr. Corey. I'm not seeing a real person for now. I'm seeing a video of a real person. So, like as of now, as of this day of the beginning of 2020, we have a separation between like a physical real world and a digital, or somebody refer to it as virtual world, right? So we still have two separation things. And sometimes people go on social media pretending to be somebody else. Like you create a Facebook profile, you talk things on your Facebook or Twitter that you never talk in real life. Like because of this separation, we have multiple different faces in our life. But with Metaverse, I think that's going to be all interconnected. We're all going to be all continuous, and it's going to be all going into one. So my thinking of Metaverse is a encompassing kind of definition or landscape with not only unite the real world as of now, as of what we are knowing of it now, and the virtual or digital world as of what we are knowing of it now, into one single verse, and that's have a meta element in it, and we call it metaverse. So just to give it a little bit more concrete imagination only. It might not be what happened in real life. Let's say everything go to worse, like the worst version of metaverse is the Matrix movies, right? So people cannot distinguish what is real and what is not real. I mean, it depends on your definition of real, but things that induce to your brain artificially using like the signals, electric signal, or kind of creating a perception in your brain, but it's not what natural as of now, but like electric artificially induced. You people in the movie cannot distinguish anymore, right? If metaverse come to worse, that's going to be happen. But like if metaverse going to be very good thing, I mean, it turned out to be in a very optimal, very positive way. And then you can see something similar to that, but like the boundary between what we call physical real world and what we call virtual world, and the way we attach our existence only to the physical world, going to be blur away. So we're going to, with metaverse, we're going to gradually define our existence on both of the world.
That's brilliant.
In today's world.
That's absolutely brilliant. Yes. And it's exactly the same thing that kind of happened with social media, right? Where like social media has done so many good things, but there's so many bad things have come out of it too. And you don't know what is going to happen. It's just going to happen. It's going to mature, and we got to explore that. Right?
Yeah. So I mean, I absolutely agree with both of you. Like we see metaverse, like how we reflect our real world. What happening right now in real world can be reflected in virtual world. So we have a virtual world happening, in parallel with the real world, and it has everything that real world has. And another one is I really like it. That is how we digitalize our consciousness, like matrix, right? We have a movie which is matrix, right? Just people just put the pipe into the head, and all of the consciousness just go into another virtual world. And if that happens, of course, we don't know when will happen, and maybe it will not, right? But if it happens, no any difference between the virtual world and real world. I mean, this is very scary. I have to say, this is very scary. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Okay, so Corey, you are from business department, and of course you have very you have very insights business, and you know a lot of business models and activities of the users. I really want to ask you that in metaverse, what can be the business model and what can be the financial activities will happen?
Well, we got to start thinking about commerce differently, how we do business differently, right? And how we interact with customers differently. And some of that is going to have to be trial and error, because how customers expect to interact in the metaverse, we really still don't know what that's going to be like yet, because we're going to gradually move into this kind of augmented virtual reality style world. And so we don't know what that's going to look like. So, like when you see these videos from like Walmart and other places where they kind of imagine people doing business like they do in the real world, except virtually, we know it's not going to be like that. But we do know, like, so what we've looked at in for insurance, we think about the way we sell insurance today. So, you talk to an agent on the phone, or you go meet them in the office, and they talk to you about what your options are to be covered. And then you sign a policy, and then you're handed a policy. Of course, that will no longer be. And also, what we also know about the way people or the way their purchase patterns have changed, people don't like to be sold something that's pre-packaged. They like things that are more customized. So for insurance, like, why do they have to get a policy that they have a choice of just A, B, or C? Why can't I choose like a slider if I want more emergency room visits or less emergency room visits, more checkups or less checkups, more this or more that, and make it more customized? So a lot of that is going to be a lot of CX, UX research that's going to have to be done over time, and understanding what those patterns are that people are going to, like, just from use, people getting involved and using it, touching it. Some of it, we just need to understand what the medium is. The medium is different than, fingers on keyboards and looking at it through a piece of glass. This is an experiential a medium, right? Like Hung said, is like, this is not the way we experience people like two-dimensionally. This is a three-dimensional medium. So the way that we do business is going to have to change as well. So every business is going to have to rethink the way they do business in the metaverse and how they service clients. And they're going to have to be creative and have an open mind about what are the possibilities. How can we really make an experience unique, special? How can we draw people in the metaverse and make it a unique experience for our customers, utilizing everything that we can in the metaverse to make it unique?
Great. So I think that all of the activities related to business in metaverse will be, I think from my point of view, will be totally different with what happening right now in real world. All right, so everything is digitalized, everything is on virtual world, and the way we behave as users and the way we behave as the deliver is totally different. And I
Right.
totally agree with you. Yeah, I totally agree with you that we are right now still exploring all of the opportunities in business. We still don't know yet, but we just keep track on it when we try to explore it. And maybe in the next couple of years, we will know what will happen, right? Okay, so I received a lot of questions related to
Oh, great.
metaverse while we are talking about metaverse, right? One question from audience about technology inside metaverse. Very first one, applying blockchain into metaverse. How did you see that? Is it necessary to have blockchain in metaverse or not? Corey, I want to hear from you first.
Yes. I think it's the foundation of the metaverse, because it's
All
the
right.
technology that provides the continuity of, like I said, the identity, objects and ownership. Without blockchain, there's no metaverse, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. And what about you, Hưng? How do you see it?
So basically, I think I want to go a little bit larger first before going to my own opinions, right? Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg say that they are doing metaverse. And if you face this question to him or any people around Facebook saying that the metaverse that Facebook create are trying to be part of, would it need blockchain? They would say no. Because like whatever they have, VR, AR, Horizons and Quest and Oculus and everything, they define it as a gateway to a metaverse. And for them, that is sufficient. Right. But for me, for my own definition of metaverse, with a to blur away the boundary between real world and for now virtual world, and we're going to live there. And now, if you think of a layer on which the object is recorded, and I mean, part of your existence is recorded somewhere, right? Part of your memory is recorded in the cyberspace somewhere, and that is falling into a hand of one single centralized party. You are not very much happy about it, right? My memory today, the things that I learned and the things that I know today would not depend on any people's assistance or any people's happiness or any people's anger, right? So if we are going to metaverse and we see that the existence of human being going to be partly deposited onto a cyberspace, and the people who handling the recording, the maintenance of those objects are centralized party who you don't trust, then you may not very like it, right? So if we think about it, if we just merely think about hard disk kind of like data storage kind of layer, you want it to be decentralized, you want it to be replicated, you want it to be very much resistant against any full accidental or malicious whatsoever. Then we need some things that are replicated, distributed, and decentralized. So when we talk about blockchain, it's just a single word that refers to distributed, decentralized ledger technology. If we use that definition, then definitely I think that we need a decentralization layer in the metaverse. But if you talk about blockchain as a Bitcoin, full stop, then that's another story, right? So it depends on what you mean by blockchain. So if you mean blockchain as a technology with embrace decentralization to have with storing data information in a trustless way, then yes, metaverse should need it. But if you refer it to it's just some other random token, then it's no. So just I want to make myself clear on the definition of blockchain, the definition of metaverse. So in summary, I think metaverse is going to need a layer of decentralization. And if you refer to decentralization briefly at blockchain, then yes.
Yeah, you know, I totally,
Hung,
you know,
let me ask you
yeah,
if
just
you know.
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to ask Hung.
Go ahead.
There's the engine standard that is, or in its affinity infrastructure. Are you familiar with that? That's the one that like Roblox and Xbox and PlayStation. It's like the standard that a lot of the companies that are developing metaverse on the metaverse are utilizing because it's cross-platform and interoperable, that they're starting to adopt that blockchain layer one. Are you familiar with that? Is that's go ahead. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't know a lot about it. I just, what I've read is that's the one that lots of them are starting to gravitate to.
Yeah, I did not read too much about the PlayStation and all these, but I'm going to look into it, of course. But what you were saying, that do they embrace the decentralization? Like, if yes, then of course that's a good thing. But if they go like, no, you don't need to worry about this. Let me abstract everything away from you and let me handle up everything away from you. Let me create a metaverse, and you just need to join it. You don't care about how the metaverse works. then be careful. You are entering a matrix.
Right. Because there's a lot of
Yeah,
standards and platforms out there, blockchain, and it's still Wild West, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, certainly. Both of you are right. The idea of metaverse and people want to aim for long-term future is something like distributed, decentralized, digitalized content platform, like where everyone has the same right in the metaverse. No one has control of the metaverse, and of course that is the idea of Web3, right? But I think from the very beginning, metaverse will be created by I don't want to call it company, by a group of company, because metaverse will combine a lot of technologies, and one company cannot do it. So we need to have a group of company, right? And the metaverse will be created by a group of company from very beginning at the first phase, and then later on when it involve, will be like next, yeah, something like that, right? And we don't know what will happen. Of course we want to have something decentralized, but I really want to say decentralization is something very luxury term, really hard to get it, very very difficult to have decentralization.
Right.
But of course we need to start from something, let's say basic, simple, to educate people, to educate the users, and later on we will have a better one, right? And of course, if we go with the term decentralized, and we go with the term like the storage where we can store data, and yes, blockchain is necessary for sure. Or I want to say like immutable data storage, something like that. But to get the immutable data storage, blockchain right now, it seems like it is flashing. It's like the best way to get it at this moment. Of course, we don't know in the next 10 or 20 years. Maybe we will have another technology. We will have other solution. But at this moment, right, blockchain is a good way to get it. Right? Great. Another question. What about NFT in Metaverse? NFT is affiliated with Metaverse, but how? All right. So, Corey, how do you see it?
Well, NFTs are an immutable way to transact property or to commute property. So if you purchase something, like think of it like we were talking about it in the insurance business of using NFTs to commute or to transact contracts, or like an insurance policy as an NFT, because it's non-fungible, right? So you could use it as to transmit property, or to own property in the metaverse. Like, yes, NFTs are an important, I think, will be an important part of the metaverse, because it's immutable ownership of something that is non-fungible. It's sellable, but it's not transferable. It's not copyable.
All right, Mr. Hưng, how do you see NFT in the metaverse space?
Yeah, the previous question, we were all agree that the metaverse is going to need a layer of decentralization. We have to start somewhere. Decentralization means like 3 or 5 parties who like independent and don't judge one another, but together keep a record of something. That is a starting point of decentralization. So if we all agree that metaverse need decentralization, then of course we need to have a distributed digital certificate that prove for the fact that something is unique and something belongs to somebody, right? So that is the use case of NFT, non-fungible token. But like non-fungible token, let's just for a moment stay away from the hype, right? Let's just for a moment stay away from all flashy buzzword. What NFT is, it's just essentially non-fungible. Would it unique? Would it not interchangeable, right? And China recently announced that they are going to create another things that do exactly the purpose that NFT do, but they don't call it NFT. They call it distributed digital certificate, right? So if we just step up a bit and we see that okay, both the China's are going to be created digital distributed certificate, and today's with that we are know of ERC 721 NFT doing the same thing with is creating a certificate that something is unique, non-interchangeable, and that thing is stored on the decentralized kind of storage place or data plan. That yes, we obviously need it in metaverse. But if we say that okay, do we need kind of BEB 721 standard token? Like, do we need axes in the metaverse? Then not really. But we need something that's a digital certificate that proving for the fact that something is unique, belonging to some specific body, and non-interchangeable, and this is stored on the digital data plan, decentralized data plan. That absolutely we need it.
All right, all right. So we go with another questions related to technologies inside metaverse. I really want both you list out some core technologies that make up the metaverse. All right, Corey, how did you say what are the core technologies will be inside the metaverse?
Oh, well, blockchain, number one.
Yep.
I feel blockchain
All
is.
right.
I think AR, VR ultimately will be. I think that I think there's going to be a lot of commerce oriented technologies. I think that we're going to be thinking about, well, I mean, you'll see, like, I think I posted it, maybe I didn't recently, that MasterCard is starting to get into partnerships with cryptocurrency exchanges so that you can now purchase and receive payment from cryptocurrency exchanges through your MasterCard. I think there's a lot of businesses that are adopting or creating technologies that are going to allow us to bridge the gap between the reality and the virtual, that are going to become important players. And I think there's a lot of foundational technologies that already exist today that are kind of supporting the internet or supporting infrastructure for the internet that already exist that are core technologies to the metaverse or to the metaverse. But what I think is more interesting is the stuff that's being developed that is going to bridge the gap between the practical reality and the virtual reality that allow us to kind of, to what Hung said, allow us to merge our virtual and our practical realities and to begin to live lives that are virtual within the metaverse in the next couple of years. And that's what I think is interesting.
Yeah. I think you just mentioned about cryptocurrency. I think better word is digital assets, right? Digital content, digital assets, right? Yeah, right. Great. So,
well, that's how we're going to live.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I was going to say, in order for us to live lives practically in a different reality, we have to be able to consume and spend money, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the core. That, to me, in my mind, that's the core of it, the foundation of it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah. All right, Hưng, how do you say about the core technologies in the metaverse?
Oh, so I totally agree with Corey on VR, AR, blockchain as a bit and peso of metaverse. But I want to just add in a few more things. Of course, we need a generative kind of technology. That means, like, let's say you imagine you go into a metaverse, like the AR and the VR going to just present you with things that your eye going to see, right? But if we wanted to match a level of natural landscape, we need some tool in the digital world that have a power of generating new kind of new landscape, new perception. I think that let's just for a moment call it generative kind of technology. AI is one of them, right? AI is able to create something new that it doesn't know of based on things that it already learned. So if generative technology is too blurred, then we can just say AI is the one that we can point our finger to. Of course, the next development of AI, not today's AI. Today's AI is still not sufficient, but from now we can just build it up. That's number one. Number two is, I think, edge computing going to be very, 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 very necessary, because if now everything is happening on one central server or a few central server, and your VR glasses just pull data from there, then it does not scale, right? Imagine like 7 billion people going on there. It does not scale. So we need to somehow push the computation or the constructing of the metaverse, let's say, onto the edge device, onto the local device. Then I think that's going to make the metaverse much more scalable and sustainable. So edge computing, AI, and I think that's on top of the blockchains, the AR, and the VR. Of course, there are many more, but on top of my mind, those are the things that I can think of.
Yeah. Certainly, I agree with both of you. Right. So to sum up, right, we need to have AI, of course. We need to have computing technologies, and right now we need to have. I mean, edge computing, right, is very necessary. Yeah, we need to have a low latency network, right? And we, of course, and we will still need AR, VR. We need to have a lot of tools that support to create digital content, support to create digital asset, right? And of course, we need to have support from underlying like GPU, right? If we want to have a 3D rendered, right? So that are the core technologies, and I totally agree with both of you. I just got the question from one audience in FPT Telecom. Do you think that FPT will be part of the game DeFi on the new world? And before we go with that question, this question I want to ask Mr. Hun, like like how do you see DeFi? Because a lot of people talk about, hey, so GameFi. A lot of people are talking about GameFi is a Ponzi scheme, right? And that question, that's
just a
that's
moment.
wait. Wait.
Just I want to clarify on the question. Is it GameFi or is it DeFi? Can you phrase the question
GameFi.
again,
I'm sorry. GameFi.
Yeah.
GameFi. The GameFi is Ponzi or not? And do you think that FPT will be the part of GameFi on the metaverse?
Okay, so because I'm sorry, it's a habit from my doing research and PhD things, right? So we need to define it. Whenever we talk about something, we need to define it. We need to put a scope on things, and then we only put our opinion on that scope. Everything outside of that scope is not to be opinionated, right? So now let me just quickly give you my definition of GameFi. GameFi is essentially a game and finance, right? So it's a game plus DeFi, basically. So back in the time, we already have some games that we can play, and then we can sell items in the game to somebody. Like 10 years ago, we already have that. But with the rise of DeFi, decentralized exchange, decentralized marketplace, and so on and so forth, people just have the item in the game represented by some NFT, for example, and the selling and purchasing and the transacting of those NFT becomes very, very, very seamless. So GameFi is not particularly very, very, very new. It's just based on the power of blockchain, the existence of decentralized marketplace, the ease of transacting in-game item with it represented in NFTs. So that brings us to GameFi. So is it a Ponzi? Now, I have to define Ponzi, right? Ponzi is essentially a fraud that somebody is saying they do something, but they are not really doing that thing. They just lure investor in get money from the one who is like going in later to pay for the one who going in first. But that need, in order to define Ponzi, now I'm going to be a prosecutor and attorney kind of thing. In order to define a Ponzi, you need to define a fraud, an intent to fraud somebody. And you need to define a victim who is like basically frauded out of something. With GameFi these days, there is one element of people who going in later pay for in some way for somebody who is in the game way before them. But if we say, is there any intention to defraud the one who go in later? It's very hard to say so. In a legitimate game like Axis Infinity, there is, as far as I can say, there is no one who intentionally defraud anybody out of anything. It's just a willingness of the people who jump in later to put their money in with the hope of getting some money out of it. So I think GameFi, which is let's talk about legitimate GameFi, right? We are not talking about some Ponzi scheme trying to use GameFi as their appearance to go and defraud somebody. That is Ponzi scheme posing as GameFi. We're not talking about that. We're talking about legitimate GameFi protocol kind of thing. So I think legitimate GameFi who built a game and it picked up like Axie Infinity, I don't think that is a Ponzi scheme. But there is certain level of speculation in that. So is it dangerous? Yes. Whenever you are FOMOing onto anything, whenever you're doing anything you are based on speculation, that is very dangerous. But if legitimate GameFi protocols are Ponzi, I don't think so. But it's not to say that it's like not dangerous.
So it means that the legitimate GameFi, which is combined by game and DeFi, is not Ponzi scheme. But the way they create GameFi, the way they operate it right now, by somehow, right? They just, as you say, like they make a lot of activities to defraud people, defraud users in the game. And by somehow, because of that, and people think that, hey, it is a Ponzi, but by definition, it's not really the Ponzi, right? Okay,
yeah, I think so.
And the question is, do you think that FPT will be part of the GameFi?
So FPT is very large, right? So let's say if FPT invests in, let's say for now, the FPT going to be part of GameFi. So does it mean that will FPT ever invest its resource, be it capital, be it human resource, be it equities, in a GameFi? Then yes, FPT already invests in some GameFi protocol, right? If you go and look up on Google, you can see that FPT chairman is advisor to some GameFi protocol. So, but good FPT by itself, let's say absorb the FPT's technology and innovations department of my lab, blockchain lab, create a GameFi, a game that is based on GameFi. As of now, I don't think we have any intention to jump on the game, to jump on the board. But what we are building, by and large, is an infrastructure on which GameFi can execute or can run. Because when you talk about GameFi, we are abstracting away from the technological level, right? In order to have GameFi, you need to have a layer 1 blockchain, right? So we at FPT Blockchain Lab are researching and developing, are trying to have a good blockchain infrastructure. So if by doing so, we're contributing to GameFi and that is can be said as we will be part of the GameFi, then yes, because we are trying to have an infrastructure which can be provided for GameFi protocols. But if we are to create a game, and in that game we sell NFT and tokens, no, I don't think we are going to do that. We are more looking at a foundational, fundamental layer on which people can run the GameFi things, can run the game,
All right.
can run the blockchain game.
You just mentioned about the FPT blockchain lab. You guys have some plans to do something, right? I just hear about some terms, some word like infrastructure layer or something like that. And I also got a lot of questions from audiences like, hey, what actually FPT doing right now? Layer 1, layer 2 of blockchain. So could you please explain a little bit or give us more information about what exactly FPT Blockchain Lab is doing right now? Sum up just shortly.
Yep. So we are trying to research and build and develop and deliver the product, and that product is a blockchain platform. So it can be targeted for enterprise use case. Let's say a group of banks going together and then they want to transact, but nobody trusts anybody else. But they need a common platform on which people can run, and we just basically refer to it as a blockchain platform for the 10 banks. We are building that.
All right, cool.
Alternatively,
cool, great.
Yep.
And are you guys hiring right now?
Of course, yes. So it's like 15 seconds of the TED Talk, the time span going to be stolen by me as of this very moment to advertise about our hiring. Yeah, we are actively hiring both research personnel and development personnel, engineering personnel, and if anybody have any interest in joining us doing this thing, please just drop us an email. I'm going to put my email onto the live stream post, and anybody who has any interest in that, please drop me an email. We are actively recruiting. That 15 seconds. Thank you. Thank you very much for the 15 seconds of quick recruiting.
Great. So all of you guys who is watching live stream right now, so please remember that the FPT Blockchain Lab is hiring right now, for researching and for developments as well. So don't be hesitant. Just drop the message to him, and let's see what we can do. Right. I got another question. I think it's for you, Corey, about the question from FPT Telecom as well. So the question is, this is the look from customer view. Do customer have to offer more of their things, for example, more data than before for Metaverse to work? Or
No,
are
I
they
don't.
merely... Yeah, just go ahead. Yeah, that is...
Oh,
that
no,
is
I
the
don't
main
believe that
question.
they do. I don't believe that they
Ah.
do. I think that we've become so accustomed to giving so much data, and I think in this new kind of economy, you're kind of taking as a user, taking some of that back, right? You will own more of that, and you'll have more control over that, and less in the platform economy. Facebook, companies like Facebook and these platforms that you've used to kind of access your friends and your social networks, you'll gain some of that back. But no, I don't think that you'll be giving more of it away. I think you'll be getting more of it back, and having more control over that. And to that, of course, everybody's heard so much about Meta and Facebook and the investments they're making. Of course, they're the biggest. They're the 800-pound gorilla, as we say, in the Metaverse, because they get so much press. They're not the only ones developing interfaces for the Metaverse. Microsoft, and there's many other, Roblox, there's many other companies that are building for this. But just remember, just with the beginning of the internet, there was AOL and CompuServe, and everybody, you had to use them to get on the internet. And of course, over time that changed. the beauty of the metaverse, the beauty of Web3 is it's democratized. They're no longer, the platforms are not going to own it. You're not going to have to use Facebook or Microsoft to get on it eventually. These early people that are investing in it, they're going to be the conduits to get to the metaverse, but they're not going to own the metaverse. So over time, Meta is going to be a way to get to the metaverse, a way to access the metaverse. It's not going to be the only way to access it. So, and they will not own your data anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. So I think by somehow we just want to sum up a little bit about metaverse. Is like if you have any chance to try it out, just go to Roblox. Right, I really love that game, Roblox. I myself, I myself is the let's say the very first version of the metaverse. So when we go into the Roblox game, we can create our world, our real own world. Right? I can create my own island inside Roblox. I can create trees, rock, and I can invite my friends. Go into my island, and we can do whatever we want in my island. Right? We can chit chat. We can talk about a lot of things. Yeah, so that is the way we see metaverse, all right? And later on, when we will have AR, VR, we can have the glass, AR, VR glass, a VR glass. Let's say we can get more immersed into the metaverse. Then we just go onto web page. All right, so I totally agree with you that we can create our content, our data, and that is our ownership, right? And later on we can sell it, or we can buy the content or buy data from others, right?
And own it.
Cool. Okay, so, I think let's say I have another question for both of you, very general one, and I want you guys just have 3 or 5 minutes to talk about this.
Sure.
What should FPT do to join Metaverse? What should FPT do to join Metaverse? So, Hung, I want to hear from you first.
So number one, building a blockchain infrastructure, which we are doing. So that's number one, because that's what we are doing, right? That of course, that what I'm saying is that the thing that we are doing at FPT Blockchain Lab can be contributed to the metaverse in some way. So that's number one. Number two is that previously we were talking about the component technology, which is like very necessary for metaverse. It's like VR, AR, AI, edge computing, blockchains. So maybe because FPT also have a branch that is actively researching and developing in AI, so that would help as well, right? And I think the next thing is educate the market. Like we need to tell the people what really is the metaverse. Not like, okay, somebody out there, I am doing metaverse. Let's put money of yours saving into our pocket so that we can do the metaverse for you. That Bonzi, we need to keep people away from them. Education. So I think on top of my mind, we should do 3 things. Number one, I myself and the lab is doing it, building an infrastructure. Number 2, I know that AI is also a flagship kind of investment in terms of R&D for FPT, and I think it would help a lot. Number 3, tech talk like this going to be also very helpful to bring people to the legitimate metaverse, or like just let them know about the metaverse so that they can stay away from all the Ponzi, funny, scam, and frauding things.
And that's what about fantastic. You, Corey?
Yeah. I agree with everything that Hung just said. That's fantastic. Yes, we should be doing exactly that, building the infrastructure. We should be researching the technologies, the foundational technologies, because I think that's FPT's strength, is bringing to bear the technologies to enable our customers to leverage and get into or get onto the metaverse. And I think for me and the way that I interact with customers, it's an aspect of education. It's working with our customers to understand their business, getting deeper with them, because we tend to transact with our customers of what's the problem that you need to solve, and then we try to solve it. Really, we need to go a step further to ask them, and help us understand your business. What's the business intent? What are your desired business outcomes? What do your customers expect? What are their expectations, both your external customers and your internal customers? And what does success look like for you? And let us help you co-create with you. Let us think with and for you about how we can reimagine your business to prepare it for the metaverse. And then let us help you bring all the things that we've developed, the infrastructure and the technologies to bear to help get you there. And be a coach and be a partner and not just a vendor to our customers.
I love that idea. The last one, be a partner, right? Not a vendor. Right. We go together, right? Side by side.
And they love that. Our customers love it when they feel like a partner is somebody that has skin in the game, right? Like somebody that is invested in their success with them. And if you make them, it's not hard to make them feel like you're invested in their success. If you just, it just takes, it's an investment of time, right? And it's an investment of really going to a customer and making them feel like you took the time to research and understand their business and talk to people and really understand what they're trying to do, not just their, requirements, requirements, understand business outcomes. What is the business trying to achieve in layman's terms that everybody can understand, right?
Got it. I understand. That's awesome. All right. So before we go with the Q&A sessions, I really want to show to all of you let's say a gift, right? Actually we have a hidden guest today. Some guys, from Epsop, but unfortunately they got the strategy meeting. But I just, order them to create a video for us to make us, understand more. Yeah, to make understand more what actually FPT doing in a metaverse right now. So let's see what Epsop is doing with Metaverse right now.
Xin chào, mình là Sao Mai. Mình là trưởng ban marketing, truyền thông và hợp tác chiến lược của FPT Software, đồng thời là co-founder của Aquaverse.
Mình là Vũ Duy Thành, mình là co-founder, đồng thời là product owner của Aquaverse.
Thế giới đã trải qua hai phát minh vô cùng vĩ đại mà nhờ đó thì FPT đã phát triển lớn mạnh như này hôm nay. Đó chính là phát minh đầu tiên là phát minh ra máy tính. Thì sự ra đời của FPT sau này là FPT Software rồi FPT IS, FDC đã vươn lên rất nhiều nhờ giúp đỡ các doanh nghiệp tin học hóa. Phát minh thứ hai là phát minh ra Internet. Thì khi máy tính được kết nối thì FPT Telecom, FPT Online, FPT Cloud ra đời một lần nữa, giúp sức cho các doanh nghiệp kinh doanh, phát triển kinh doanh trên không gian mạng rồi lên mây. Đây là điều tất yếu của bất kỳ doanh nghiệp nào trong thời đại ngày hôm nay. Thế giới đã bước sang một cái giai đoạn tiếp theo, đó chính là Metaverse. Mọi người gần đây chắc có lẽ là đã nghe thấy rất nhiều về cụm từ này. Thì Metaverse là thế giới mà nó là không gian ảo, là cái không gian vật lý ngoài đời thực nó không có nhiều cái ý nghĩa nữa. Và nếu như ngày xưa người ta nói rằng là Internet làm cho thế giới phẳng hơn thì Metaverse biến những điều không thể thành có thể. Và chính cái đại dịch Covid-19 này đã làm đẩy nhanh cái quá trình này hơn bao giờ hết. Và mình nghĩ rằng là theo đúng cái quy luật này thì FPT sẽ một lần nữa tái sinh và sẽ có hàng loạt những cái công ty như FPT Software, FPT IS ngày xưa, đúng không ạ, được sinh ra để phục vụ cho cái giai đoạn Metaverse này. Và Aquaverse hy vọng mình chính là một trong những công ty đó trong tương lai.
Chúng tôi xác định Aquaverse không phải là Metaverse Service Player, mà Aquaverse sẽ trở thành một Metaverse Enable. Ở đó chúng tôi cung cấp các dịch vụ để giúp cho các doanh nghiệp kinh doanh trong thế giới thực có thể lên Metaverse ảo hóa. 2021 chúng tôi đã hoàn thành rất nhiều dự án về virtual tour, virtual event và virtual shop, hỗ trợ tích cực cho các doanh nghiệp trong bối cảnh đại dịch Covid-19 phức tạp. Trong năm 2022, chúng tôi sẽ nỗ lực nghiên cứu và phát triển các sản phẩm hiện tại và hoàn thiện các prototype đầu tiên của Metaverse. Sau đây chúng tôi xin bật mí một chút về sản phẩm Aquaverse phase đầu tiên. Mời mọi người tham quan FPT Innovation Hub thực hiện bởi Aquaverse, là một trong những prototype Metaverse đầu tiên tại FPT Software. FPT Innovation Hub là không gian thực tế ảo, mô phỏng các sản phẩm và ứng dụng của FPT Software trong không gian Metaverse. Layout không gian được quy hoạch và lấy cảm hứng từ logo FPT, được chia thành 6 khu vực, gồm có Smart Factory, Logistics, Smart Retail, DX Garage, Smart Workplace, Smart Healthcare và Hologram Table. Khi vừa bước vào Innovation Hub, bạn sẽ được chào mừng bởi lễ tân ảo tạo ra bởi công nghệ Deep Learning. Chỉ cần nhập kịch bản, hệ thống sẽ tự tạo ra các trợ lý ảo, có thể nói được trên 50 ngôn ngữ. Trong Innovation Hub, bạn có thể trải nghiệm gọi video call tại phòng họp Smart Workplace thông qua tích hợp sản phẩm Akamid. Để tối ưu trải nghiệm Akamid, bạn có thể sử dụng mô phỏng tính năng Crystal Sound lọc tạp âm. Ở khu vực Smart Retail, bạn có thể trải nghiệm tính năng Virtual Staging, thay đổi màu sắc sản phẩm. Bạn còn có thể thử thả sản phẩm ra ngoài môi trường thông qua tính năng QR Web AR. Tại trung tâm Innovation Hub, bạn có thể gặp lại MC ảo Mai Tân và nhảy vào FPT Virtual Campus, tham quan không gian ảo FView 1 và FView 2 tại Hòa Lạc. Innovation Hub hiện đang được triển khai và liên tục cập nhật phát triển.
See the video of the Appsoft one production, let's say the one project they are going to invest to, which is Aquaverse, right? Aqua plus Metaverse, I think so. A lot of information about that, and I do want to ask Corey. Hey, Corey, you still there, right? So you're from Appsoft. Yeah, you're from Appsoft. We just talk about Metaverse. We talk about a lot of things related to Metaverse, right? And of course, that is Aquaverse is the way FPT approach Metaverse, and definitely this is the beginning phase, the very first phase, very first version. We will go step by step, right? I really want to hear your feeling, your let's say your comments as a member of the Appsoft. How do you see that strategy of Appsoft, and if you have any comments, let's say if you have enough power, let's say enough power, if you want to make some changes, do you want to make some changes? You want to direct the strategies of creating Aquaverse. Let's say like that. Let's imagine like this, and what should you do?
Sure. Well, I think the strategy at this point is still very at its beginning, infancy, right? And because most businesses don't really know what the metaverse is. So to go back early in this talk, to kind of take what Hung said and kind of hijack it and rephrase it, is metaverse as a term is really kind of a marketing term, right? It's a made up word. It's a way that they've packaged and put a term on something to make it sound exciting so that it can be marketed and sold and published and written about and excitement created about, right? So, because really the metaverse, and we talked about this previously before the talk, is interchangeable with what I call Web3, right? Which is the third generation of the internet or the web. Is and because it's in its infancy, the strategy, I think, for FPT and Aquaverse and the way that the company presents it and talks about it with customers at this phase, I don't think it's that important, because I think they need to present it in a way that our customers expect to see it and expect to experience it, right? And just to be honest about it, because for guys like us, technologists, people that work behind the curtain, that understand it in a little bit more deep way, we look at those things and we kind of like just like we looked at the Walmart video and we kind of laughed about it. Like we know it's not really going to work that way. But for the rest of the world, they don't see that. They don't know what to expect. And it's really okay to use vehicles like the video that we saw and the videos like Walmart to create excitement for it, because we really want FPT to create excitement about that with our customers. And it's okay. Like, just think of it as a sizzle reel or a marketing video to get them excited about the possibilities of the metaverse. And that's really what it's about. It's like when you go like on vacation somewhere for a timeshare and they show you videos for the timeshare that they haven't built yet. It's the same thing, right? It's okay. But, as this thing matures and we know more about it and it becomes more built out and we have more real world examples to show, those things will come out and we'll be able to have a more accurate representation of what it looks like. But in the short term, I think it's fine.
I agree with you. In short term, is totally awesome, right? We cannot expect that we create something perfect from very beginning, right? Yeah, but in order to create, let's say, the complete metaverse as we just defined, right, where we can create our own world inside metaverse, we can create our own content inside metaverse. Of course, it takes time. We need time, we need resources to do that. But from very beginning, what Aquaverse is doing right now, I'm impressed. I'm really impressed about that.
Right, absolutely. And even if we have if we create a world like that in the metaverse to start as a starting point, that's great. Like, just to have a presence, that's great. And we're going to evolve that over time. Like, we can't set expectations that it's going to be. Like the old phrase goes, we can't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? Like FPT is breaking ground, being a first adopter, being out there early. We're being out there before a lot of other people. It's totally fine. I think it's great.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right, so we go to the Q&A session. I got one question from. I want to rephrase this question because we have two questions, but the content of these two questions mostly the same. So I want to rephrase this a little bit. So, how metaverse affects our everyday lives as the Internet of Things evolves, and the same questions like what sort of internet? So I think the guy who created the question, who asked this question, he or she want to mention about Internet of Things. Like, so they want to understand Internet of Things and the metaverse. How do they affect each other?
Great question.
Yeah. I want to hear from you first, Mr. Hung.
Okay, so that is a very interesting question indeed.
Yeah.
And just to go back from what Corinne said at the very beginning, metaverse, there are many characteristics to the metaverse, but is the one of the most notable one is continuity, right? So interconnected continuity, interoperability. I'm sorry, I never make that word sound nice. So back in the time when you have a refrigerator at home, you have a air conditioning at home, you have a TV at home, they are all isolated, right? Now with the Internet of Things, they are somewhat connected, right? So there is an interface on your phone where you can just control them, and they can even communicate with one another. That is a form of continuity. Right, object in your real world now can connect and talk to one another. Now, one step beyond, and then we can bring it all to a digital representations, right? So that, of course, because I think that play into a metaverse in a sense that they all feature continuity and make your interaction with them more seamlessly. So that and of course, metaverse going to make it even more seamlessly and even more continuous. So Internet of Things going to smooth things out and to make things even more connected. And that's what that I think that's how it plays into the metaverse narratives.
Mm, All right. So, Corey, what is your viewpoint of metaverse and internet of
Man,
things?
I love this question. I never thought about it before. But like think about the possibilities of IoT and the metaverse. So like just
Yeah.
I'm making stuff up. So imagine in the metaverse, you put something in the microwave and turn it on, but it's actually cooking in your kitchen. And then you step out of the
Mm,
metaverse and the stuff's cooked. I don't know. Like the possibilities
mm.
of interconnected devices and IoT devices connected to the metaverse
Uh,
is a really
yeah.
interesting prospect I have never even thought about before, honestly. But it's really fascinating. But Hung's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
It does like it's just another connection between the virtual and the practical reality. Like the possible, like again, like it's a change in our that's going to change. It's a culture shift. It's going to change things in a way we haven't even thought about yet, right? Because you're going to be able to
Yeah.
do things in the virtual world that actually affect things in the real world because they're interconnected that we haven't
Mm,
even thought about. That's very cool.
mm. Yeah, you know
I
what,
love that. Great. I don't know
I
who asked
yeah,
that question. That's a great question.
yeah,
Great
yeah.
question.
I will send some goals, to that audience, about asking the question. I was surprised when I got this question from audience from them. I mean, if you see the trend of metaverse, the trend of Web3, and we can see that we have a computer, we have a cell phone, we have a wearable devices, and if you
Yeah.
see the trend of mobile internet, and metaverse is the next level of mobile
Oh
internet.
yeah.
All right, you can see that,
Wow.
like, yeah, and let's say, for example, imagine that. I expect that everyone here, see the what is it? What is the name of the movie? Iron Man, right? So
Yeah.
inside Iron Man, he got the assistant called Jarvis, and Jarvis is the product of AI. But how does Jarvis get information from other devices in the house? That is Internet of Thing. With the Internet of Thing,
Right.
right? With the Internet of Thing, data can be
That's brilliant.
transmitted
Yeah.
into virtual world continuously. Uh, and in this case, Internet of Thing, it is the sources of the data, and we can apply the new term, this digital twin. And I think you guys have heard about digital twin, and digital twin is how to map the virtual world with the physical world, so data will be transmitted between them. And
Yeah.
in real world, we have physical object. With a digital twin, it can transmit the object near real time. I didn't want to say near real time. Well, let's say real time. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe the
Right.
future. We will have the same object in the virtual world. Yeah. So such of this, data transmission, is the result of Internet of Things. And I don't know how it happens in the future, to be honest. But that is, let's say, the theoretically, that is, from my point of view, the relationship
Oh,
between
these are
the metaverse. Right.
great,
All right.
great topics. Great things to think about. Wow.
Yeah. So we have another questions for both of you. I'm gonna read it down here. Wait a sec. All right. So the question is, I see Metaverse thrive and explode at the end of 2021, like Sandbox, like Mana, like Sig of Meta.
Yeah.
And how about the next coming years? How about next coming years about Metaverse? Currently, in 2022, blockchain is merging with a term like Web3 with a DAO, and it seems that Metaverse is going, it's not as hot as before. It seems like go down a little bit. And how do you think about this statement? So, Mr. Tung, how do you think about that?
So I don't think metaverse is cooling down in comparison with DAO or other blockchain related term. I think it's still hot. Just take a look at Mark Zuckerberg post this morning, right? See, he shared a post about Quest, which is a AR VR kind of glasses that enable people to um, meeting with one another. They are trying to create a virtual room with like hologram and things. So of course, with Facebook is like all in onto this kind of thing. It could not cool down. One of the most influential social media platform is all in into this game. It's a long time until we can cool down. That's number one. Number two, I think coming into 2020 and the next 3 to 5 years, I think metaverse is still a hot thing. It's not only in this year, because as you can all read from news release, press release from Facebook, they are investing in the next 3 to 5 years to build up their so-called meta. Of course, their definition of metaverse, and I said at the very beginning, might not be the same as our definition of metaverse, but they are all contributing to the cause, right? They are all contributing to promoting, to providing the hardware, the tools, the technology, the bits and the parts to build up the metaverse. So I think it's going to be remaining trendy and become the next, and I say next frontier for social connection, and that's going to last for the next half a decade as a very minimum.
Okay, I agree. I agree with this point. And what about you, Corey?
I agree. I don't think it's going to cool off. I think it's going to continue to get hot. I think it's going to be like the internet boom. It's going to continue to rise and gain momentum, and it's going to be another gold rush, probably in the same time frame that Hung said, 3 to 5 years. What I do think you're going to see, and what you probably have seen, and what he may be referring to, is some fatigue or saturation. People hear a lot about the metaverse. I've seen it in a lot of publication and in the news, that people hear a lot about the metaverse. They just don't understand what it is, or they feel like, I read an article recently, or I should say a LinkedIn post from somebody in marketing, that like, they're like, oh, these tech people, they should do a better job of marketing the metaverse because people don't understand what it is, and they should do a better job of explaining it. And I actually replied to the person, and I was like, I don't think it's our job to explain it. That would be like marketing a utility, like the gas or the power or the water system. The metaverse is happening. We don't really need to market it. And it's in its early phases. It's its early stages. So you don't really need to understand it unless you're trying to be an early adopter or an investor in it, or try to be a speculator in it. It's going to happen. And when it does happen, then you'll learn about it, just like you learned about your cell phone or your computer or the internet. It will happen, and it will become a part of your day-to-day life. And at that point, it will become apparent to you what it is, and you'll understand it. Until then, I don't feel that there's any need to market it to you, because there's no need for you to understand the blockchain and all of these other technologies. They don't affect your day-to-day life. But until then, I think that people hear a lot. There's a lot of, like you said, buzzwords, industry buzz, the metaverse, and Meta, and Mark Zuckerberg putting videos out, and you hear about it all the time, but nobody really knows what it is, and they get tired of it. They're like, "What is this thing? I keep hearing about it. Do I need to care?" And then there's jokes about it, and Elon Musk jokes about it, tweets about it, and they get saturated with news about it, but there's no tangible process or progress or anything tangible about the metaverse that they could see, touch, smell, or taste. And they just are like, what is this thing? It's stupid. They don't understand what it is. And they get tired of hearing about it. So they just get fatigued. And then every once in a while, like something actually happens. There's a progress happens, like Facebook changes its name to Meta, and then it becomes a news story, and then people are interested in it again. But I don't think that layer of just kind of public relations news has anything to do with the actual momentum of the metaverse and what it's going to do and what it's going to or the heights it's going to achieve, or the traction that's going to achieve over the next 3 to 5 years. And as it begins to gain that momentum and actually become a part of our day-to-day lives, as it actually becomes more pervasive and more accessible, I think you're going to see a lot more people and more companies investing in it, more consumers investing in it. And like I said, I think it's going to become another internet boom. It's going to become another gold rush.
Yeah. I myself don't think Metaverse is cooling off. And in contrast, I think is Metaverse right now. Metaverse has been hot than ever this moment. And as you see, as FPT Appsoft invest a lot of money in project Aquaverse. And Aquaverse now seeing hiring. So this is one tip for you guys, if you guys and developers, if you guys want to join FPT to develop Metaverse products, just you can join with Dr. Hung, or you can join Aquaverse. And then time is up. We just time flies so fast. We just we just last 1.5 hours. That I myself I'm really honored to have you guys here today, and we discuss a lot of information, and definitely I think the audiences of this Tech Talk, they got something to bring back home. All right, so hope we can meet each other again, and
yes,
Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to you, Mr. Corey. Thank you again for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
so
Bye-bye.
much for
Have
hosting
a nice day.
this Tech Talk. My pleasure to be here. Thank you very much. Have a
Yeah.
nice day. Good night, Corey.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.